Hello everyone, my name is Don, the movie reviewer, and today we are going to be talking about another amazing production from the great studio A24. They are absolutely killing it this year with movies. This movie that I am about to review is no exception. This one is called Lady Bird, directed and written by Greta Gerwig. I don't know anything about this woman. She directed another movie that I haven't seen. But after watching this one, I am definitely going to pay attention to this woman. She's written some other stuff that I never heard of. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely be out to look for Greta Gerwig. With Lady Bird, I didn't know anything about it. I just looked, some stuff up on Google, and I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score. And when I saw that score, I was like, "Holy crap!" Like, how is this 100%? Like, that's unheard of sometimes. And so I was like, all right, I have to go see this. And just hearing everyone's review about it, everyone was saying it's really good. It has when I first saw the Rotten Tomatoes percentage, it didn't have any rotten scores on there, not one. It was absolutely zero. I don't know what it is right now. But I was invited to a screening for it, and I didn't go, and I wish I did. But I just recently saw this movie, and is it as good as everyone claims it is? And is the Rotten Tomatoes score correct? Well, let's find out.
I hate California. I want to go to the East Coast.
I want to go where culture is, like
How
New
in the
York,
world did I raise such a
or at least
snob?
Connecticut or New Hampshire, where writers live in the
Get
woods.
into those schools anyway.
Mom,
You should just go to City College. With your work ethic, just go to City College and then to jail and then back to City College, and then maybe you'd learn to pull yourself up and not expect everybody to do everything.
We're afraid that we will never escape our past.
Whatever we give you, it's never enough. It's never enough.
it is enough.
We're afraid of what the future will bring. We're afraid we won't be loved, we won't be liked, and we won't succeed.
I want you to be the very best version of yourself that you can be.
What if this is the best version?
Christine Lady Bird McPherson is a senior high school student at a Catholic high school in Sacramento, California. She doesn't love the way her life is. She wants to escape from her own reality and become somebody else. I was impressed by this movie. It held my attention for the entire thing. Because as I was observing Sarai Sharon interacting with her mother, those were all my favorite scenes. We don't really get to know a lot about the entire family, like the father and the brother and his girlfriend. We get the basic layout. With the mother, I felt like it was the meat and potatoes of this movie. The intro scene with the two of them is fantastic. You get a sense as to where their relationship is in the movie, and as their whole entire relationship progresses throughout, I was captivated not only by their performances here, but their relationship in general, because I will admit it did remind me a lot of my relationship with my mother. As Christine, or as she likes to call herself, Lady Bird in quotations.
Lady Bird, is that your given name?
Yeah.
Why is it in quotes?
I gave it to myself. It's given to me by me.
Like I said, with the stuff with her mother was really good. It definitely reminded me a lot about my relationship with my mother in a lot of ways, constant bickering back and forth, and how you feel your mother's invading your privacy and doesn't want you to be your own person. They want you, they have this vision of you and saying, well, can't you be the best version of yourself? And I like what Sarai Sharon's character, Lady Bird, says to her mother.
What if this is the best version?
What if we already are the best versions of ourselves? What if this is it for us, you know? And it is kind of scary sometimes because in the real world, in reality, that Christine, Lady Bird, is trying to escape from and doesn't want to accept, it's like, it's really tough because in high school, for me at least, and I believe for maybe some people, in high school, we look at as pretty much everything as being extremely important. But then once you get into the reality in the real world, you learn that everything in high school means nothing. Like, seriously, absolutely everything in high school pretty much means nothing. I mean, if you go to a good school, you get a nice education, you get to go to college, all the good stuff. But then, like, the friendships you form usually don't last. Sometimes it does, and that's great. But sometimes it doesn't. And then, like, you know, the gossip and the bullying, all that stuff doesn't transcend into your adulthood. I mean, it may stick with you because, you know, all that stuff develops who you are mentally as a person, but it doesn't mean anything. High school means absolutely nothing. And with Christine Lady Bird in here, she looks at every single thing in high school as being extremely important to the psyche of her character. And she acts like a real high schooler, and it's just like she's trying to fit into these different places, but then it's like she needs to realize and learn that, yeah, you know, fitting in is not really important. Being yourself is the most important thing. Watching Lady Bird's progression through the movie was good. I will say one negative thing, though, that I felt like this movie was really choppy, especially at the beginning where it goes like, okay, here's Lady Bird in a relationship with her mom, all good stuff. Then her dad's not really there, but we understand their relationship. It's basic. Then the brother stuff's basic. And, you know, she has relationships with people and, you know, she claims she's in love, but she doesn't know she's confused. And that's usually a deal with high schoolers, is that, you know, they think love is real and it's not. I've been there. And just seeing each of these scenes, it does feel choppy in a way. The film's not that long, it's only like an hour and a half. It did feel a little longer than that because, you know, it is a slow movie, but it's real life and it's something that I can relate to in a way. So I enjoyed it. The performances, all the stuff, even though it was a little choppy, I still had a good time. Saoirse Sharon plays Lady Bird, and she gave a memorable performance here. I wouldn't be surprised if she wins an Academy Award. I followed her character throughout. I liked her progression. The relationship with her mother felt real and genuine. I will say one negative thing. There was one scene where it seemed like they were like performing the stage play, and she did seem like she was acting in one scene. It was a scene where she was like pouring her emotion out to her mother and like kind of just, you know, being sobby, like, "Mother, I love you. You love me back," and all this. And it just felt a little off to me. But other than that, her performance was great. She definitely felt like a senior in high school who was just kind of lost and didn't know who she was as a person. And watching her progression throughout the film to find out who she was and create herself was very interesting. Lucas Hedges plays Danny, Lady Bird's first boyfriend. He was really good in this movie. Every time I saw him on screen, it kind of reminded me of the one movie called Election with Reese Witherspoon and the one guy, I forgot his name, but he kind of reminded me of that. He's like really like quirky, you know, and that's how he came off to me. And he was funny. He had some funny scenes in here. He was, you know, quirky, and I liked him. He was great. Lorene Metcalf plays Maureen McPherson, Lady Bird's mother. And I love the dynamic between Saoirse Sharon and Lorene, because their relationship really felt genuine. And she's great in here. She's great in here. And I wouldn't be surprised if she wins an Academy Award either, because the relationship felt real. And one thing that I did like in here is there were scenes where, you know, the mother and the daughter would be talking and they'd be angry with each other, but then all of a sudden they would flip the script and then the relationship would become lighthearted again.
Every
tired, we can sit down.
I'm not
You
tired.
were dragging your feet.
You are so infuriating.
Please stop yelling.
I'm not yelling. Oh, it's perfect.
Do you love it?
I loved all of those scenes. And especially there was one scene in here where they were arguing with each other, and it was about reality. And that argument between the two of them, it hit me in the feels, my heart sank, and it's just like, that does feel like a real mother and daughter or mother and child relationship, because you got a kid, and I admit I was like this, you got a kid who is being a child because they are, but then it's like, it's time for them to grow up because we don't want to listen to our parents, but then it's like, we got to grow up, we got to get into reality and into the real world, but then we think everything that is going on currently in our lives when we're in high school, when we have that mind kid mentality, it doesn't apply to reality. And our parents do give us advice and we have to listen to it, but then sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other. And so the way their relationship played out in here, it hit me because some of the stuff did happen with my mother and it felt real. And I liked their dynamic with each other and their performances. It was great. Deanne Fieldstein plays Julie, and she's Lady Bird's best friend. She was great here too. She was like one of those friends, I would say, where you just use them as a sidekick. That's how she felt, but she had her unique personality. And during the beginning of the movie, there were a few scenes where I felt like you could tell that there was something brewing between Lady Bird and Julie, just through like facial expressions and some scenes where, Julie would kind of copy Christine, Lady Bird. And so at first I was like, okay, they're not going to lead that to anything, but it did, and I loved it. And I loved their relationship here. They did feel like friends, and it's the reality thing where it's like, yeah, you have a friendship, but is it going to last, especially in high school? I felt their friendship. It touched me. It was enjoyable. I loved it. Timothée Chalamet plays Lady Bird's boyfriend, Kyle. To me, Kyle felt like one of those like anti-establishment kind of kids. And like I said, this is high school, and usually kids in high school don't remain the same once they become an adult. His character was funny though. He's like one of those loner type cats where it's like, he's at a party and he's just chilling in the back. And it was good, he's a generic kind of thing usually, and that's what this was. But I liked his character. He was fine. Tracy Letts plays Larry McPherson, Christine Lady Bird's father, and he was good. I don't feel like the movie gave him enough character, but I got some insight as to who he was and his relationship with his daughter. We don't really get much of anything with the relationship with him and his wife, but I guess we didn't really need to have any of that because the movie, it's not about that. It doesn't do much here, but he's good, and I love the dynamic between him and his daughter. Jordan Rodriguez plays Miguel McPherson. It was just a generic thing between a brother and a sister. Didn't go anywhere, really. It stayed the same, but I liked it, and the stuff was funny. Does it matter? In high school, nothing really matters. You think that life is going to remain this way. There's this quote that I heard that I really enjoyed, and it says, "Life is simple, but we make it complicated." And I believe that, especially in high school, because we're so young and so naive, and think we all have it figured out. And sometimes that mentality sticks with us to when we become an adult. And we must escape from that. Because our parents are right. Yeah, parents sometimes don't understand, but they have lived a full life. They've spent more years on this earth than we have. So we must listen to them. Maybe not everything, because we are our own person. And as we are in high school, most or some people haven't really created who they really are yet. They're just kind of trying to fit into places, because that's how I know I've been. And it doesn't really matter in high school. Our parents say what we should do because sooner or later we're going to have to face the real world. And they're just trying to prepare us for that. Now, we don't have to become who they tell us to be. We be our own person. But it's important to listen to our parents to just get some insight and prepare ourselves for the reality that we must face in the long run. Now, with the Christine Ladybird character here, she had this whole mindset of who she wanted to be, and she idolized all of these certain things and characters, but then she didn't know really who she was. She was just trying to fit into different places. And I like the progression of that with her throughout the movie. Because it's like, it's a reality thing. It's just like, we have a vision of ourselves that we want to mold and shape into our future. But that doesn't always, fit into our future. It just falls apart. And with her, it's kind of what happened here. It's like, trying to fit into these different spaces, but then you don't really feel comfortable around the people you're with because they're not like you. So you must come to the reality that, hey, I myself am my own person. I shouldn't try to fit in to be cool or to get into certain places, because it's just not worth it, because the stuff in high school that we have to deal with, it doesn't matter. Overall, I will give Lady Bird a solid A. I love the performances in here from all the actors, even if some characters didn't get a full development and we just got some insight into who they were and their relationship with Lady Bird. It was funny, it was good, and I was entertained, even though I wanted a bit more development with these outside characters. But with Lady Bird herself, I feel like we got all of the character development we needed. But I will say this. The movie is a bit choppy, and it does go from here to there kind of quickly, and it should have slowed down a little bit more, so they could have added at least 10-15 more minutes to kind of like just stretch out everything. But the movie did feel longer than what it was, so I don't know. But I was entertained by the whole entire progression of the thing. And I also will say that I was so into this movie and into this character. Not only in relation to the stuff with her and her mother, I love that. Stuff with her father was great, even though we didn't get a lot of insight into that. And the stuff with her brother was funny, even though we didn't get a lot of insight into that either. I want to see where Lady Bird goes from here. So I will say that if they make a sequel to this, I will watch it. They need to make a sequel to Lady Bird. They need to make 2 sequels. This needs to be a trilogy. And I mean that because we see her in high school, then I want to see her as an adult and where she goes with that. And then we should have the final chapter, the climax, when she's an old lady and she reflects all the stuff she did in her past. If they decided to do that, I would be game and watch that, because this movie was so interesting that I want to see what happens with this character throughout the years of her life. So they should come back to this, definitely get the same director and writer, because this movie was good. This is her second film. She should direct more stuff, and if she does, I'm going to be on the lookout for it, because I like Lady Bird. And the Rotten Tomatoes score isn't exaggerated. This is a good movie. It might be one of my favorite movies of the year. I don't know yet. The year is not over. We will see. Check out Lady Bird if you haven't. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Ethic, just go to City College and then to jail and then back to City College, and then maybe you'd learn to pull yourself up and not expect everybody to do everything.